As many of you know, I'm a monstrous fan of music, from vaporwave to death metal, from Memphis rap to noise music. I appreciate all forms of music in all areas because there's a wide variety of sounds, melodies, and rhythms. But what if I showed you a form of music that went against the conventions of musical standards? I'm talking about a genre that combines elements of hardcore, thrash, and other elements of extreme metal and punk. This genre is called grindcore. What is grindcore per se? Well, grindcore is the balance between extreme metal and hardcore punk. Now, why do I say it like that? Because many genres within punk and metal take inspiration from each other. The difference is that many genres lean towards metal or punk, like for example thrash metal added elements of heavy metal and hardcore punk, and yet it's considered a metal genre because it's metal first, while crust punk was inspired by the early examples of extreme metal like Venom and Hellhammer, and yet it's still a punk genre because it's more punk. So when I say grindcore is both and neither, you'll understand what I'm talking about when I show you the genre grindcore.
The music we play, I mean, it's. I don't think you can get any more extreme. To speed-wise, it's the fastest. I'm proud to say it's the fastest. You know, nothing can be faster. Sorry, Dave. You know what I mean, but it's just not fast enough, mate.
Now, if you're a grindcore fan, you'd say the first ever grindcore band in concept was Napalm Death. But what if I told you that there was a band that actually laid the groundwork for not just grindcore, but many other genres? I present the band Siege. Siege was a hardcore punk band from Boston, Massachusetts, formed in 1981. They were described as power violence, thrashcore, and grindcore originators for their sound in the Boston hardcore scene, and yet despite influencing some of the top grindcore acts, they're still considered an unknown band. Their album, Drop Dead, which was the only one released by the band, was chaotic, abrasive, noisy, and just hard-hitting.
That's Siege.
It blows my mind that bands like Napalm Death and Drop Dead, who got their name from Drop Dead, the band's that good, call us an influence. It's very much an honor for that.
Grindcore doesn't care about music standards. With fast, random speeds, short songs, blast beats, down-tuned guitars, and bestial vocals, it adopts hardcore and makes it grind.
Right, just cheat. We used to call it the cheat beat. Hit the hi-hat every other time. As fast as possible.
We sort of abandon musical standards. We don't write songs to, the rock sort of format. I mean, I think we're pretty much the end of the line. I don't think you're going to get a band that's going to go more extreme than us.
The music is so dependent on also giving out lyrical content contendant to anarchism, socialism, and other times it could be gory or just plain old disgusting and fucked up.
Grind can be defined as a death metal with a thoughtful edge. It's usually got a lot of thought into it, something about overpopulation, problems of the world, death, certainly.
Genocide.
We
all like genocide.
Like there's a couple of grindcore subgenres called gore grind and porno grind. Both genres, as much as I love grindcore, I think these genres suck. These bands can also be shocking with their look on their albums, like Carcass's early albums and Anal Cunt's titles and album covers. Grindcore is pretty avant-garde and can be the most ridiculous sound that you can hear, either high-pitched screams of terror or burping vocals. It's just so out there in expression, noisy and unapologetic with the intention to cause a disturbance. It's very dependent on just releasing your primal, unpredictable human nature. Pretty knowledgeable scenes include the British grindcore scene, the American grindcore scene, and especially, and my favorite, the Japanese grindcore scene.
What I liked about Japan and every other band that played, it was like the last show they were ever going to play in their lives. Every note and every, sweat, blood, and tear, people just went for it.
You can try to sound Japanese, you can't sound Japanese. It's the way their equipment is, it's the way the rehearsal spaces are set up, it's the way their shows are set up. It's just a different vibe.
Siege later broke up and had a few reunions, and has been disbanded since 2016. Though their impact on grindcore and extreme metal has been huge, they are still obscure and pretty underground. I would definitely recommend Drop Dead if you want to know where this sound came from. Of course, there were some other influences like early Metallica, Slayer, and Discharge. The band that was the pure definition of grindcore was Napalm Death. Fun fact, Napalm Death actually started off as a crust punk band, though with their album Scum was the album that truly defined grindcore, especially with their track You Suffer, But Why, which is also in the Guinness World Record for the shortest song, with the track being a second long. Ever since the release of Scum, there has been some notable examples of grindcore, like Repulsion, Brutal Truth, Pig Destroyer, and my personal favorite, Swelling Green and Discordant Axis. There's also bands that have grindcore elements in their music, like Daughters, Dystopia, and Naked City. Grindcore, surprisingly, has a cult following of people who appreciate the abrasive and sometimes avant-garde nature of grindcore, dependent on the artist. Grindcore has crossed over to death metal, sludge metal, crust punk, noise, black metal, and even jazz music. Now, I'm going to address many statements that are critical of grindcore, and give the most honest and well-founded statements that I can provide. Grindcore isn't music. Well, yeah, that's the point of grindcore. Grindcore isn't supposed to be constrained by the standards of music. It's supposed to say fuck you to them. Plus, music is an art form of expression, and I'll say something that'll make you say, that's stupid at first, but once you think about it, you'll understand what I'm saying. All music is noise, and all noise is music. And what makes this statement true is perspective and intention. Your perspective on what makes music music can be completely different from someone else, and intention is the motive to make said sound for this music. Art can't be held by these standards because it'll make the medium stale and stagnant. Art needs to grow, experiment, and find new ways of expression. And if your statement goes back to some sort of standard, remember that your standards could also be considered not real art because of something with said art. Grindcore is all about pure, unpredictable, impactful chaos, and it can bring so many people to appreciate the honest nature of grindcore. That's the appeal of the genre, and it's why I love it.